All right. Good morning, everybody. And Joe Van Doren here, and welcome to our Virtues Pick for this morning. And we have a great word this morning that came up, and that word is wisdom. So I love this word, and there's so many different ways to be thinking about this. But we're going to read the description and then just talk a little bit about how what comes to our mind at that time. So wisdom is the guardian of our choices. It helps us to discern the right path at the right moment. It gives us clarity of thought and deeper understanding. We use our best judgment, resisting the pull of impulse and desire. Wisdom gives us the maturity and patience to make sustainable decisions. We seek knowledge, enter reflection, and open ourselves to inspiration. We consider carefully, then act confidently. Wisdom takes us beyond thought to a deeper knowing. Wisdom grounds us in grace. Boy, there's so many places to go with this, but as I'm thinking about it right this very moment, I'm thinking about how wise I thought I was like when I was like 20 years old. And I was so sure that I knew exactly what and how I was going to raise my children and how my life was going to go. And I just thought that I knew it all. And I guess that's probably true of most people in their late teens and early 20s, maybe even into their 30s, some of us even into our 40s. And so, we finally learn that every person is unique. And my wisdom doesn't come from the words that I've espoused, but it comes from the experiences that I've had in my life and the experiences that have taught me things. Now, that's not to say that we can't learn things from the words of other people, but how important is it for us to take the time to really be very clear? And that's where our first C and the four C's of successful families comes in, but having a very clear understanding, having clarity about who we are, what we want, and just knowing ourselves. Now, you might think, well, you really can't know yourself when you're that young, and that's probably true because even as time goes on, your experiences and other parts of life are going to mold you in a number of ways. But there are some very basic things, right? And so clarity of our clarity of thought only comes from, I believe anyway, from not only our knowing ourselves, but also taking the time to reflect and to meditate, to really open ourselves up to our inner self, the true self, the one that's not influenced by everything that's going on around us and the people around us and what they think should be done and not done and all that. So it takes a long time to learn, and when you're when you're a young person, of course, there's a great deal of influence, not only from your parents and teachers and coaches, but almost more importantly, especially as you get into teen years, your influences from peers can have a huge effect and especially if we have not, as the adults in their life, help them to develop their own sense, their own North Star, their own understanding, their source of trueness to themselves. And that's, that develops that wisdom, right? So, I'm just thinking about wisdom as being, not just gaining knowledge, but also being inspired by understanding who we are and what we want to accomplish, who we want to be as individuals. And that takes a great deal of careful thinking, and it's a practice, I think. Yeah. So recently I read this thing that said that words don't teach, life experience teaches. And I thought that was just great and really tied in well with our word today of wisdom. And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, well, I should write a blog post or do a video on that or something. And so I wrote down this note that parents teach through the clarity of their example. There's no need to teach respect or kindness because children have that in them already. But by our example, the clarity of our example, both in our words and our actions, is what really is a huge influence on our children, and not just on our children, but anyone who's in our sphere of influence. And so, as I think about how do we teach our children about wisdom, it's first by being very clear about what's important to us, and having a system in place for making choices and making judgment calls and whatnot, and resisting the outside influences. Just doing this in a very in a way that is predictable. I would say is probably a good word. Children love to have a routine. They like to have know what is their foundation, and I think that's true for all of us, right? So, what is your foundation? For me, it's looking at these virtues and understanding the virtues and knowing that I have them inside of me, and getting rid of those thoughts of unworthiness, and knowing that I can demonstrate these virtues and working at doing so. And that's a huge foundation for me. Understanding that it is my inner self, that there is a source, that there is a greater source of, if we want to use the word, the vibrations, the energy of the universe. If for some it's going to be God, it's going to be Jesus, it's going to be Allah, it's going to be Buddha, it's going to be any of those things. But my point is that whatever that foundation is, that's what we base ourself on, as well as what we understand and know about ourselves individually. And that's where wisdom comes from, and it's not something that comes early on in life, but it's certainly something that we can help our children develop by having that sort of foundation ourselves, being very clear about who we are and what we believe, and then, of course, living it, by our actions. So, the words don't teach. Wisdom comes from our experiences in life, and we can help our children gain that wisdom by not just sharing our experiences with them and our families' experiences, but giving them the foundation of a place where they can look inside of themselves to find that wisdom. They have it too. And we know that because, I was thinking about all the moms and dads that I've heard say, my children have taught me so much. And that's, that is true because they have wisdom. All right, everybody, that's my thoughts today about wisdom. For my practice today, I'm just going to remember that to seek the knowledge, to take time to reflect, and to open myself to the inspiration of Source, the inspiration of the universe, and the energy and my inner self, so that I can be the best that I can be. All right, so that's what I'm thinking about. Until next time, keep practicing the virtues and the 4 C's of successful families, and that's clarity, communication, consistency, and community. Until next time.